Welcome, everybody, to the Green Fork Food for Thought podcast. Today's guest is Leah Ferrone. She is an educator, but not your average elementary school teacher. She teaches mindfulness and wellness with a holistic and neuroscience-based approach. Right now, she's focused on digital wellness, helping parents and children to be mindful about technology, social media, and its effect on us as a community and society. So welcome, Leah. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited about this conversation.
Yeah, this is a topic I've been interested in and trying to, I've had my own battles with, social media and stuff like that. So it's very interesting, it coming about in the late 2000s and just completely changing the game is how we interact as people has had a huge impact on our society. And it's just interesting to explore that. So
it's happening quickly too.
Very quickly.
Really quickly.
Yeah, it's just exploded.
Mm-hmm. We remember being kids without it. So it's so interesting when I think about observing, the iPhone coming out.
Yeah.
I was one of the geeks that was in line at Apple that day in 2007 to get the first one.
Yeah.
But that was also because it was a work thing. So I got lucky to be able to have access to it. But it feels like there was this long period of time where we didn't really know what was happening, but there was so much intrigue and it was exciting. And then it's just like in the recent few years that now the data and all of the symptoms of our use and overuse and being dominated by tech is really coming to head.
Yeah, I guess you don't really see the forest through the trees when you're in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't see the potential downsides like, I am spending way too much time looking at this screen right now.
Absolutely. Because it's happening so fast and new things are coming out that seem to be shiny and I always laugh too about how we get so coerced or tricked into thinking that all of the new stuff that's coming out is going to help with our efficiency and our ability to navigate the challenges of the world better, but they actually end up complicating it more and making us more tied to the devices.
Yeah, I know just as a personal trainer, I think many people in many professions feel this way or can attest to this, but just having to have a social media presence,
Please.
It's like I spend more time, when it first came out, I spent hours trying to make a 30-second reel, just messing around with stuff, and it's all confusing. I was getting frustrated. And a 30-second reel that, didn't really pay off the way that I thought it was going to. Yeah. So, man. Yeah.
Right. And usually, I know when I started with Brave Lion and everyone's like, you have to be on social media to build your business. And I had no social media presence before then other than LinkedIn just to show, and it was really just a resume.
Yeah.
And I got so caught up in, it's still obviously happening now, the trends, you have to make a reel with this trend. And then the technology was moving so fast too. And the tools, I just always felt overwhelmed. And I have yet to have experienced the payoff for the effort and energy that's been put in. But that's a really great moment too, when you start to tune in and realize how you feel when you're trying to do what people tell you have to do to build your business, perhaps be on social media when it doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel intuitive and it doesn't feel worth the investment of time and energy. And then to be able to say actually, I'm going to do it different, or I'm going to take a break. That's where the real bravery and being tuned in piece is so important.
Yeah. I feel like when it first came about, Facebook and Instagram, when I was learning about how to promote myself through it, I had a lot of fun creating content and putting out, stuff that I thought was really cool. Just, words and of course pictures and funny stuff and content creation is fun, but the anxiety that develops around it and the want for likes and all that stuff, it just isn't worth it for me anymore. So I kind of I backed off of all that stuff for now and kind of just treat it entertainment, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really healthy way of doing it. I know I've yet to get into a flow where I can be consistent of either being all in or all out. So right now I'm kind of all in, but I'm just coming back to Instagram after being off for a full year, completely off, app off the phone, not checking it in any way, and it was incredible. Yeah. And then I ended up coming back to promote a program, and it was really impactful. It actually really helped get people to the event that we were doing. But then I to your point, I find myself, and somebody, one of my coaches in my business, Carly Hamilton Jones, she's been amazing, and she shared this idea of anytime you go on social media, when you are going there, and it's ego driven versus service driven, especially for your business, that feels very different. And so I when I find myself on Instagram and I'd be looking from a place of ego, like how much engagement has there been, or I want to share something about myself that actually has nothing to do with my business. Like that's about Leah Ferrone, not about mindfulness and wholehearted well-being so much. I mean, people want to know who's behind, obviously, the business and the mission, but then when I'm going on and I'm like sharing something that feels really mission aligned, or it's informative, or it's playful, or something that actually like enlightens and like uplifts, then I'm like, oh, this is like more out of a service-based energy than look at me, pick me.
Yeah. And so it doesn't really matter the feedback that you get. It's just I'm going to put it out there, and people will show up if they want to or not.
Exactly.
And that's great.
And people feel that like authenticity too, I think, versus right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know for Green Fork, I hired out to a social media, someone who does that for a living, right? And it's made all the difference. Like I said, I was racking my brain trying to come up with ideas. And yes, it was authentic and fun and cool, but it took up too much of my time. So since I've hired Jess Lang, social media.
Oh, she's awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
Cool.
Yeah, she handles all that, and I send her some stuff if I feel creative or whatever. But it's off my mind. It's off my plate. So I feel much better about that.
Okay, maybe that was my sign to call Jess too.
Yeah, call her. Yeah, she's great. She's great. So, Leah, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved with everything that you're doing.
Yeah, cool.
Coaching.
So I always say that I'm really passionate about teaching and sharing mindfulness tools with children and families, because I was a kid who was raised in like a mindful home, and I tell these stories a lot. But like my parents would not have called it mindfulness back then, and we're talking about the 80s, 70s, and 80s, before it was cool and trendy, the word mindfulness even. But it was just like the culture of our home. So the attributes of mindfulness, like curiosity and non-judgment and patience and flexibility and generosity and curiosity, that was really like the culture of our home. And our parents really, well, first of all, they threw us outside, like all day, all day, every day. So really deep connection with nature, but not just like, appreciating nature, but really, and the way I like to talk about this with kids now too, is like nourishing our senses in nature, like really being attuned to what's happening in the rhythm and the cycles of nature. And as you and I have already talked about, like there's not one season that's better than another. They all have, and so we being raised in a mindful home with that culture is really how I got on the path.
I know your sister. We went to school
that's right,
together,
of course.
And your mom came in when I think we were in like 8th grade or something and taught us Tai Chi.
Yes, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Sorry, I just blew the speaker.
That's great. No, she taught us. It was really cool. I remember she taught us like a rubber band and like a ball of energy.
Yeah.
I remember feeling that.
Your chi.
It was so cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome.
So you grew up with that stuff. That's
yes.
awesome.
But it wasn't until the times that she was coming into your school, like that was probably the 90s, where she started going to like a formal meditation school. And then she went on to, went to school for traditional Chinese medicine, acupressure massage. It's called amatherapy. And so there's like all these different modalities that she was exploring, and also had a meditation practice. So for her, it was like this her and my dad, like intuitively raising us kids with this like culture of being mindful. Mm-hmm. And then she started to formalize her own practice and her tools. And that's what happened to me when I was 18. I like went to a meditation school after like being exposed to all those building blocks my whole life.
That's great.
So the first half of my career though was in marketing and nonprofit community development.
Yeah.
But it was when I became a mom where I was like, oh my gosh, like I have all these tools, these mindfulness tools and practices that have carried me through all the seasons of my life, but that's not what everybody has. Like right. And then as a parent, when you became a parent, right, it's like a whole different ball game, or it can be. And so that's when I formalized my training. I went and got my 200-hour yoga teacher training, and then immediately went into training yoga teaching for kids, and then mindfulness for kids with Dr. Chris Willard. And he was somebody who really helped me like realize how fun and playful and varied mindfulness can be when you teach it. And it really is. It really, it kind of has to be. Yeah. To be able to stick,
you
right?
You can't teach philosophy to kids. You have to make it interactive and
like fun and playful and curious and really personalized. So in the beginning of Brave Lion, it was really about, and it still is, like really helping people build their own wellness toolkit. And so again, making it personalized and accessible and playful and fun. And of course, like it would be great if we could all be on a meditation cushion, actually like formally meditating. But and just like you and Sarah Hutcherson talked about, like you can do mindfulness anywhere you are, no matter, like just with your body, like, you don't need, like, with your breath, like there's ways that you can weave mindfulness into your everyday life without adding more hours to the day or carving out, this big chunk of time.
Yeah, totally. I had to do it today.
Did you?
Today this morning was a little bit stressful with tons of phone calls and insurance stuff and
the fun stuff.
Yeah, and I had to like bring myself down a little bit because I was getting all stressed out.
What do you do? How do you do that?
I breathed and I went for a run and I worked out a little bit and just kind of I shook it off. I have like almost Tai Chi, but I like kind of bounce around and shake and like breathe and
That's amazing. It's so powerful.
Yeah, so that's been a primary tool, movement, that's helped me through stressful times. It's a great coping mechanism for me. So that's what I had to do today. But it's that mindfulness piece. It's like, okay, I'm stressed out. I see that. I know that. Now what do you do about it?
Absolutely.
I don't want to stay here. So
right. Well, that's like that being. Well, it's really interesting. I've been thinking about how to define mindfulness, especially to kids, because I've been working with more teens lately. And I saw this quote. It wasn't about mindfulness. I think the woman's name was Stephanie Tyler. She writes on Substack, and she said something. It was about something else, but I relating it to mindfulness, and it was that you don't have to fix yourself. You just have to know yourself, and right. And that mindfulness is the way to do that. Like the quality in which you bring your attention to the moment. What's happening in the moment within you, like your thoughts, your feelings, your bodily sensations, like how you might be charged or if you're like totally slugged, whatever is happening in the nervous system. And maybe even, you don't even have the words to articulate in the scientific sense, but like, patterns of what's happening inside and what's happening outside. Like you're paying bills, you're feeling like you're going to explode out of your skin. Like, and then we like collect all this information, we know ourselves, and then we get to like choose what's best for us in that moment. That's the superpower.
Totally. Yeah. It came with time and experience.
Sure, totally. And mistakes.
Yeah. Plenty of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say that you went to yoga teacher training. So did I. I felt like beyond just like the physical practice, which I feel like everybody associates with yoga. Yeah. The asana. I learned more about, better coping techniques and, I learned more about mindfulness awareness, I learned more about myself and how I interact and ways to adjust myself, I guess. More about that. That was more beneficial to me than just the exercise part of it.
Yeah, I had the exact same experience. Like I had been practicing yoga for a long time before the training, but when I went to the training, it was like, this isn't about sequencing and cueing people. It was about the knowing. And also, so that was, and I remember at the end being like, wait a second, I'm not sure if I know how to write a sequence, but I felt like I had the more important piece to be a teacher at that point that I could get from the sequencing. I could maybe get from a textbook or having coffee with a wise, older, more experienced yoga instructor. But that piece is so important. And I feel like, like you said, like it's a lifelong practice, right? And like there's going to be, especially for kids, it's really tricky because they don't have as much experience as us to call on. And like right now, in the way that our world is shaped, it's like even harder for them, I think, to be able to be in touch with and okay with what like they're noticing on the inside, because the world's telling them like it should be totally different.
100%. And that ties into, the social media stuff, which you're doing a lot of work with now. Obviously there's a lot of downfalls to it, but what are some of the benefits versus downfalls to the internet and social media use that you've seen?
Yeah. And I always appreciate this, like this conversation where like tech is amazing and there's so many great things and advancements that we are afforded because of it. So it's not that like tech is bad and social media is not bad, but it's like anything. It's just like stress. Stress can be helpful sometimes, but it's bad when it like rules us and it controls our actions. So it's like how we're in relationship with our stress and tech in the world and the very rapidly evolving AI sphere.
It's crazy.
It's so crazy. I keep kidding. So I personally like have just thought about all the people that I've been able to connect with. My brother lives in Montana, Joey. And so like being able to FaceTime with him and have my my two children who don't get to see him and his wife Megan as much, like have a relationship with them, like true connectivity that's like purposeful and like there's nothing. How lucky are we to have that? I even think about my uncle who passed from ALS in 96, I think it was. There wasn't some of the apps and the ways that like people who are like have neurologically degenerative diseases now are able to like communicate still. And like that stuff wasn't around when he was in his battle. And so like for science and like there's so many incredible ways.
Oh yeah. Like the Neuralink stuff where people that can't speak or whatever can like just think and then it comes out into a computer.
Crazy.
Or whatever.
Like, right? Like even 20 years ago we'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just incredible. I was actually this past weekend when we had this, I don't want to talk about the teen advisory on digital well-being retreat that we had. We were at the Muzan house and they have like a typewriter just as a prop there. And one of the teens was like, did you ever like use that? And I was like, I actually did. Like I remember like writing a paper on a typewriter. And so now the idea that we can like dictate to, like there's so many amazing it's amazing. And I also think a lot about with social media, like there's so many good human stories that we get to see all over the world now. Right.
It can be very inspiring. Yeah. And just a way to connect, obviously. But where it goes awry is when just reading this book, The Anxious Generation, right? And then we talked about that a little bit, but you know, people share pictures of their bodies and things that they're doing, and then they get judged hardcore for it. And that's just one of the many like downfalls of it. But you know that it plus and minus.
I know. So this is one of the things that I keep like wondering, like, is this because I'm almost 48 years old and like an old person I don't really understand, or is it like actually a big issue? But I think about that a lot, the way that people present themselves on social media. And I'm like, well, maybe this is an era of empowerment where people they put themselves out there however they want to be seen by the world. But I often feel like there's like that shadow side of the judgment and the people that are so easy to like throw up comments and how that, I can't imagine how that doesn't affect people deeply, or at least they have to have a really, really strong set of tools and resilience to be able to manage that.
Yeah.
So it's like this give and take of you can show up in the world however you want to online.
I feel like with kids, like socializing is everything, right? Like my son's 17 and you know, he has a pretty good head on his shoulders. I think I've done a decent job.
No, you did a great job.
But, you know, most kids feel like, you know, if I get embarrassed at school, that's the end of the world. Right?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
You remember that? Yeah, exactly.
In real life, though, like it was,
Yeah, and now it's that world, that social world has expanded infinitely. So you post something vulnerable and then you get attacked for it. It's like, oh, my life is over now.
Absolutely. And that's actually the tragic statistics that are people. There's the rate of depression and suicidal ideology in kids that have. There's actually I don't know the name of the organization that did it, but they did this memorial for all the young people under like 16 who have taken their lives due to like social media bullying. And when you read their stories and they're just like young lives that were just getting started, it's like horrifying. And you know, it's not that they didn't have the tools in real life, like, or, you know, maybe support or whatever it might be, but it's just when it was really interesting actually. There's a mother that I was speaking with about how she's guiding her high school students with her children, high school age student children through the whole like social media world. And so her children did not get phones until high school, and they weren't allowed to go on social media until high school. And she works in the counseling department in her high school. And she was saying that what she sees is that like one of the big things is like how important it is to not have devices in bedrooms for kids, because sometimes you feel like you're safe because you're in your home and in your bed. Like there's a physical maybe safety there, but you're in a psychologically unsafe place when you're online. And so you might say or do or post something from a place of physical safety, and you mistake that like for what you're sending out to be landing somewhere that's safe, and it's not. But when you're that young, your brain isn't fully developed to even be able to go through that like cognitive reasoning.
Right. One of the things that I thought curious about this book was, you know, somewhere along the lines, parents got afraid of the outside world, didn't want to send their kids out there because of, you know, all the nasty stuff that happens in this world, which is fair, right? But since the invention of social media and the internet and everything, there's a much bigger world out there. So if the kids aren't out playing with each other and experience the world for themselves, unsupervised socialization in the real world, if they're not doing that, if they're not allowed to do that, they're on the internet in an even more unsafe world.
Absolutely. You know? Without even having gone through those like rites of passage and that way of growing and learning in real life. So they don't even have like the tools themselves. I was fascinated when I read that because I'm a little older than you, but like we were of that generation when there was that shift in the 90s where like kids started getting pulled in from being outside or funneled into more structured adult-led activities, like just being overstructured or scheduled in general.
Yeah.
And everything was like about, you know, achievement to get into colleges. And so your worth was, you know, like that was but like we were talking about at the beginning of the iPhone, like I don't think we knew at that time what the long-term effects would be, especially not knowing that the digital world was just waiting to like make it worse, make those conditions worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think of it as like, you know, those growing pains, those experiences, like for me, like asking out a girl and getting rejected or something.
Mm-hmm. That happened to you?
Oh yeah, many times. Stuff like that, you know, where you go to do something that you're like super confident about and you get let down. Like that stuff happens, but it's real world interactions. So you're like, okay, get through it, move on. Totally. It's not the end of the world. But now it's like constant with social media. You put stuff up, it gets rejected. You put it up, it gets rejected. You know?
Yeah. And even like just perceived rejection. Like I'm sure there's definitely like things that are like valid, a sense of rejection, but like even, you know, like so we had this retreat this past weekend. So I had this group of teens that we were basically an advisory committee on digital well-being. So they all were volunteers. We had 3 sessions virtually, and then we came together for this retreat. And we did an intergenerational circle so that we had the age span was from 13 to 76, which was so cool. Yeah. But Stephen, the nuances and the things that they shared about like what goes on in like Snapchat or TikTok or all of those apps and the social spaces, like to your point about rejection, like how long someone waits to like open your Snap or like like all of that. There's so, and even for us adults, there's some of that to a degree, but like the nuances, like they were saying something about how like if you do 3 dots after something or 2 is like a big signifier, or 1K versus 2K is like and I thought, oh my God, it's like that's so complex. Like I could never keep track. I can't imagine how
it's a different language.
It's a different language, right? Yeah. And so I was thinking about this, like I like live my life like where everything means something, like as an opportunity to learn and grow. But like I also think about for kids, like they're in a place where it's such an artificial manufactured like digital space where everything means something for them, but probably not in the same sense where it's like helping them learn and grow in real life.
Oh, no.
Right?
It's so anxiety producing. What about the text, we need to talk? Right?
From a parent or a friend or anybody.
It's like, oh, shit. You know.
Well, that's the thing. Like our brain wants to fill in the blanks immediately, and it's always going to have that like negativity bias. That's just how it's wired. Yeah. And so, you know, then you throw in like all of the social pressures of the social media world. Like I just don't know. Like the brain is not wired for this.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
We're rewiring it, which is the
rewire.
The great. Isn't that terrifying when you hear it?
It really
put
is.
Like that.
Yeah.
Well, I read this. Jonathan Haidt put out a post just like yesterday. Was saying that there's like this rapid decline of conscientiousness that's happening with youth too, and because of some of the aspects in the in the digital world. And I can't speak to all of them because I didn't read the whole article yet. But I was just thinking about that idea of like when you, like you're saying, like if you had to like go to a friend's house and you had to like say hello to their parents to like, you know, there was like I go back to those rites of passages that we had that like are necessary for the human brain. Like we need experience, not information.
Yeah.
More than anything. And like kids aren't experiencing. One of the kids this week said that one of the questions in the intergenerational panel was like, what's one thing that you would want the other generation or another generation to know about your experience? And he said that I in my childhood, I'm not as experiencing as much as you did. Like a lot of me and my peers go to YouTube and we watch something and then we consider that we've done it, but we haven't actually.
Yeah.
And I thought that's how the brain gets wired well when it experiences in real life.
Yeah, that's why they say not to talk about something before you actually do it, right? Like it's like you already received the signals that say like, oh, I've already done that, it's already completed. but you haven't yet.
Right.
So you stop.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know I actually have a lot more experiencing I think I need to do myself. Like lately I've noticed that I have been consuming and like collecting, and I think this is another trap that we get to in the social media world. Like we collect and save like all these articles right? And then but we don't like read them and then like go test them out for ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like I've been collecting a lot too much lately.
Yeah. You run across something good, you're like, ooh, I'm gonna revisit that.
You never do. You never do.
So let's talk about the importance of real life social interaction, especially for kids. You probably have more experience in what that looks like, and like you said, the neuroscience backed. How important is that for kids to have like those real life social interactions? I know we were just talking about it, like you have to go through rites of passage.
Yeah.
You have to face your fears head on, and then realize that it's not okay, or I mean, it is going to be okay. Right? Yeah,
you'll make it. You're gonna. Yeah, it's gonna be uncomfortable, but you'll get through it.
Right. Whereas I think he talks about the cost of being in. What does he say? I wrote it down here. Low versus high, entry to exit barrier.
Yes.
Right. So if you're in a community and say you do something that's messed up, you make a mistake, whatever, your community is going to forgive you and you're going to move on. You're going to have relationships with these people for years. You enter a chat room or whatever it is, whatever they call it these days.
Yeah, I don't know. An AOL messenger.
Yeah, that's what we came up with. And, people are just quick to write you off and pass you by and all that. So, I feel like that has a big factor in real life human socialization.
Absolutely.
It's the ability to make a mistake and then, learn from it and still be friends.
Absolutely. And everyone knows that. And you get this sense where like, oh, my worth is actually just from being who I am, not because I got something right or wrong. And, everyone's going to make a million mistakes in their lives. So I have a couple examples of this from the event that we were doing at Pitney this year. So we did the Summer Sunset Socials, which was this idea. Well, actually, I'll just back up. My brother-in-law and I have this curriculum called Nurtured in Nature, where we bring kids to it's a school-based curriculum, but we also piloted it in person at Pitney Meadow. So it was an after-school program, and kids come to the farm after school, no matter what's happening with the weather. Yeah. So they, like when they were showing up in November, it was dark at 4:30. Like they would come and it would be dark, and they'd have headlamps, and they'd be dressed for the cold. And if it was snowing or raining, like we were out there. And one of the most incredible things was to see these kids, like, first of all, we would offer them a lesson, like there's a science lesson and there's a mindfulness, like kind of bridge to that. And the whole idea is really for them to like nourish their senses and also like really stoke that curiosity. I mean, they already have it, I know. But I think a lot of kids had like an idea of what it might be. But then once they got there and they realized like, oh, we get this lesson, but then we get to explore and kind of lead our own, choose our own adventure while we're on the land. They were having such embodied experiences with nature, but also with each other. And then also when they realized like that Andrew and I were not like overcorrecting or guiding, like that they actually had freedom and agency to choose, was so like you could just see the like joy and the excitement and the like intrigue and curiosity that was coming alive for them. And a lot of times, one of my favorite, this happened in the spring, we read the book Owl Moon like outside by the like a fire. And like with kids, a lot of times, you read the book and you hold it up with the pictures and everything. Yeah. And I was like, guys, I'm not gonna show you the pictures. I want you just to listen to the words, because where you are right now is actually like where this is exactly what the illustrations look like pretty much here. So these kids sat there in the snow by a fire. It was like 5:00 on a November, or this was probably January, February, afternoon, and listened to the story of Owl Moon. And then we went over to the like tree line and we had them owl. And so I was like, how's this going to go down? Like, because the kids were ages kindergarten to 5th grade for that session we did last year. And I was like, is somebody going to be nervous? Or they all of them could not wait to owl into the forest. Just
belting it out.
It was amazing. It was we didn't get a response, unfortunately, but it was so cool. They were like having this experience that was so visceral, and it was like the anxiousness of like being the first one to step up or to do it in front of a group was like gone. They had already just had such an embodied experience. Yeah. And then when we were leaving and we were packing up, we heard kids going to the car, like owling with their parents. And I was like, oh man, like this is it. And that experience where it's so embodied and it's so visceral, like it awakens things in you. Right.
Yeah.
And that happened. So after being on the farm for the whole year, that's when we kind of got the idea to do these summer sunset socials where we have families come, leave their phone at the door, and just go into the meadow and have these experiences that are phone free. And so one of the examples when you talk about how important it is, and especially for teens, there were a lot of parents that were like, oh, we wanted to come, but my teen didn't want to leave their phone, which is tricky because that is like, as a parent, it's not easy and comfortable, but you might have to be like, this is actually what we're doing. So there was a couple of those parents that did make that choice and said, well, we're going to do this. We are going. And once the kids got there, that was the piece, like hearing about going to a meadow and checking your phone at the door and like playing tug of war or like blowing bubbles sounded lame. But once they got there and they saw like, how beautiful the sunset was, the incredible gardens and the way that the wind was coming through the grasses and and seeing people just flying kites and like these kids were doing incredible things. And so I was saying that to a lot of the parents after that, when they were surprised at how much the teens actually enjoyed themselves once they got there. I was like, that's the value of experience.
Right. Yeah.
Right. You can't conceptualize that. You have to.
And you can't get that on your phone.
No. Yeah. There's no way that, and I like think of all of those summer sunset socials we did, they all had different energy, like because of the people that were there too. And that didn't mean you have to socialize with everybody. Like people went off and did their own thing, but like, there were some younger groups and then, they're trying to like throw footballs over the greenhouse, which was not great, but it's awesome too, because that's what kids do.
Right.
But there's like that was like a rowdier, fun energy, but then there was other ones that were a little slower and quiet. So it was just it's interesting when people come together, like you can't see or feel that from a reel.
Yeah. I remember going to Kids Night Out
at Skidmore.
At Skidmore.
Oh my God, I was too old for that, but that was awesome. I heard it was awesome.
Skidmore and maybe your sister went, Juliana.
Juliana, definitely. All the younger. Yeah, they all went.
Skidmore.
My parents were like, see ya.
YMCA as well. Yeah, and they checked us. They checked us out, and we went in there and just played and did whatever, and sometimes got in fights or did whatever, like rowdy stuff.
Yeah.
Just messed around and found out,
That's what you need to do, right? You need to like have and that's a hard thing as a parent too. Like when my kids like, fight or argue or wrestle or whatever it is, and then somebody gets upset or hurt, it's like, I think you guys can figure this out. It's like hard to let them, but that's so important. And then, and Jonathan talks about that too. Like kids aren't doing that anymore. They're not taking that like having that risky kind of play in a way that's still really safe and developmentally appropriate. And it's necessary, right?
Yeah. I think, Mike Tyson said like everybody, like on social media today, the problem is people talk a lot of crap and they're not getting punched for it. So it's like a hard lesson that, if you say something messed up, you might get punched for it. And I think you need that sometimes. I mean, the kid that I was talking about myself, I got in a fight at one of those things. And the kid and I are good friends. We're good friends afterwards, and it's cool. It's just one of those things that happens, and you learn from it. And what I learned is that I don't want to fight.
Exactly right. It doesn't feel great, but But that's also really important too. Like when you like feel the like adrenaline rush and all of the like everything that happens in your body when you're angry or hurt or like somebody, and then you just. And it turns into a fight or whatever it might be. Like it looks like a million different things when we fight. It could be physical, or it could be just words, or any other hurtful thing. And like I think if we're mindful enough of that, we notice like, oh, it didn't feel great. Like and then you can get maybe a little bit more discerning. And like when that stuff starts to rise up, be like, what else can I do? Right? And it's not always easy, and we're going to continue to get it wrong, I'm sure, lots of times. But
but that's where the lessons are learned. You don't learn them on your phone.
No. So at this retreat, I don't know if you know John Dorflinger, but he's one of my dear friends, and he has a film business called Lighted Up Media. I have to share his contact with you because he's an incredible human. But we were talking about the like the cyberbullying and what people say online. And I don't know if this is his quote, but let's just give it to him. He said something like, it's hard to hate up close.
Yeah.
And Is that somebody else's quote? Or?
Oh, I don't know, but I like it.
Let's give it to John. Okay, John.
Yeah. It's hard to hate up close.
But it's so true. Like if you're left, like you and I are across the table right now, and somebody might be listening, so they don't know that like I can like, I'm reading your eyes and your like facial expression. Like it would be so hard to like say something. Yeah. Not that I would want to, but like, you know, when you're in front of somebody and you're having a human connection versus like, you know, just want to critique someone's outfit or something ridiculous that means nothing online.
Because there's no consequence online.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know, it's just like, it is much harder to hate up front. Like I would never say anything rude to anybody unless they deserved it, you know, that kind of thing. It's a great quote. Yeah.
Right. Sure. But then you also know too, like, I also feel like the more that I pay attention to like the things I want to say that are coming out of judgment like, because that's one of the big pieces with mindfulness is that you're bringing your attention to the moment and without judgment, which is so hard because our brain loves to do that. But I notice like, even when I like, this would be a mindful moment for me as an adult too. Like if something happens and I want to like be validated or justified in the way I feel like I'm going to rip off a text to somebody who will totally tell me that what I think is right.
Sure.
Or feel right. And that's another way of like fighting, I guess, but or like just gossiping and a lot of times I like will stop myself or at least have gotten into the habit, you know, like you're just doing this because you feel bad about it. Like it's something that you need to look at that you're being judgmental about. And I feel so much better when I don't send the message versus like, hey, I've wrestled with this thing a little bit and you like ask a friend that you trust and like, am I seeing this right? Or right. There's a difference between.
Yeah. You're just propagating the problem.
Yes.
Right. By just expanding it and spreading it out to your friends and getting the validation or whatever. Right. It's not really doing anything. It's making you feel good maybe, but it's not helping solve the problem. Right.
And our teens are just like, that's all that I don't think that they don't have the tools yet. Cause again, their brains aren't even done developing to like be able to. No, I definitely, I mean, I definitely didn't either, but I was also, I was such a square in high school. Like I didn't fight with anybody.
Yeah. Well, just there's so much drama that goes around in high schools, even, you know, before social media, before internet, there's so much drama that goes around, but it doesn't get as far.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. It's like a flash in the pan and then it's, right.
Exactly.
Right.
And you're over it and you have friends the next day or whatever.
No one's screenshotting like what you wrote and then sharing to people. And I think that idea too, that like our teens they don't have enough years to know that like what's happening now is not like a flash in the pan. Like it could stick around for a long time. Yeah. Or there's evidence of something that you did in the heat of a moment that you would take back if you could.
Yeah. There's cameras everywhere now. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I try to tell my son, like, you know, none of this really matters. You know, like
I know.
I want you to have fun. I want you to go out and experience things. But whatever, like if something bad happens to you or whatever, like if you make a mistake, it doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. You know, these are your formative years. You're supposed to make mistakes. You're supposed to learn from them. And, you know, 20 years from now, it's not going to matter.
Totally. Yeah. And I do that too, like with my 5-year-old, like we're something that is like to the end of the world to her, which is like not getting ice cream or something at night. I'm always like, I know that feels terrible, but like and then like letting them know. Cause like, I always thought about that too. And I, was a kid and someone's like, oh, you know, or someone would be like, get over it. It's not a big deal. And I was like, but to me, it is a big deal to me. But also I'm glad that I'm getting that understanding that like, I'm not going to die because the example you gave earlier, I did ask somebody to junior prom and they said no. Yeah. I know clearly I'm still talking about it, but but you get over it. Like you're going to be just fine. And but that's the thing I keeps me up at night a little, always actually all the time, is thinking about the fact that like our kids are not getting that ability to like make mistakes in the real world and know that they're safe to do that. And that everything will be okay. Yeah. That's why at these socials, it was so funny. This is a ridiculous story, but we made a joke about it. We had ice pops. Like we would give ice pops out to everybody. There was like open, like cooler. They were organic, don't worry. And so we would, like kids would be like, can I get like 2? I'm like, you can have as many as you want. Like, but anyway, one of the Wednesdays I went into our basement and I like thought I had grabbed 3 of the big bags, but one of them was a bag of frozen sausage. And so I had 2 bags of ice pops and 1 of frozen sausage. And so we were there, we were all laughing because we were like, if there were phones around here, like people would be taking videos and laughing like, oh, you had Leah brought frozen sausage instead of the ice pops. And then I was like, also we could like, maybe we were discovering something like gnawing on frozen sausage is like the new thing, but no one will record whether or not it works out. Yeah. But it was just, it's so funny because you're right. You think about these mistakes we make and we do feel like we're under such a lens and that, you know, but when you remove that piece, you're like, oh, I'm just a human.
Well, just think about how funny people act when you put them on camera, right? Myself included.
Oh, yeah.
Like this is tough, right?
Totally.
The first few of them, I was nervous, and I still get nervous at the start of them, right? But being on camera, being in front of a camera where you know that a lot of people are going to see it, you get that anxiety, right? But if there's no cameras, no phones, you're so much more free, so much relaxed. So if I flub a word or something, it's like, oh, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But I think kids just are constantly in that fear of like, oh no, if I get caught doing this.
You know? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're right. I don't think about that. You're right. That's a really hard way to live.
Yeah.
Well, when we had this retreat this past weekend, all the teens checked their phones. Well, we made it so that when you show up, like you had a little settling time, so you don't have to immediately like take your phone and put it away. So that because they were just meeting each other for the first time in person, they had been on virtual spaces before, but this is the first time they were meeting in person. So we built like this little buffer of like 20 minutes where they came and they could kind of explore the space, and there was a bunch of snacks. I made sure I had all the snacks that they liked. And I also brought mandarin oranges because nobody said fruit. Anyway, and then so then at like 20 minutes in, we're like, okay, now we're gonna like do a mindful moment. We're gonna check our phones and like talk about the rest of the day. So anyway, they went about 6 hours without their phones.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
It was, and they were it was something that seemed so effortless. Like I forgot they didn't have their phones.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they said like they went for a nature walk and into the farmer's market and then came back. And I was like, if you guys could just leave your phone and see what it feels like to actually like not take photos of anything you see and like go and just experience the farmer's market and the walk back as like just a gang of teens that are, and it was like they all like had such an interesting bonding, and they're also so honest too. Like the one at the end, one of the girls was like, I can't believe I haven't had my phone all day and I haven't thought about it. And she was one of the people that had the hardest time putting it away.
Yeah.
And she's like, this day, these 6 hours has felt like 2 hours. And this one kid who just turned 13, he's like, it's been like, feels like 9 to me. He was so honest about it. But it was really cool because I feel like in that space too, like there was everyone could speak very freely because we didn't have devices. And I got this sense that we did build some kind of trust that people could just kind of be really honest with what their experience had been.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's great.
It was awesome.
How often do you do those?
So this was kind of the beta or pioneer group. Yeah. And the coolest thing about this whole program is that I actually co-created it with a teen. So a girl named Chloe from Vancouver, we got like matched up as kind of like a intern program. And so we co-created this, we called it the Teen Digital Wellbeing Advisory Committee. So the premise was that all of the teens that were involved were going to share their experience and kind of offer feedback on what they think their peers and themselves might need or want to help build a better relationship with technology and how to do that mindfully. Because I feel like the mindfulness piece is the umbrella for everything, and the digital well-being is just a piece of that because
very important piece.
Right. Because once you're aware, like we're talking about, or you become more aware of what's going on in the moment, in your inside world and your outside world, then like obviously the digital well-being piece is going to fit right into that. Right. And I know you've talked about this a lot on a lot of conversations about like data. One of my favorite parts is the first group. We met the first time. Everyone met and we kind of talked about what our plan was for the whole program. And the first week they had to do like a mindful taming tech observation. Like it was really just gaining awareness. So I gave them a bunch of things to do throughout the week. And then at the end of the week, to actually look at their screen time, because most self-reported that they had a healthy relationship. Like,
sure.
Like I probably use this more some days than others, but then I said, so like really pay attention and see how aware you are like in the moment. But then at the end of the week, look at the data and the numbers. And a lot of them had never looked at their screen time and they were blown away.
Yeah.
Because what they perceived as their usage versus like what was actually showing up was different. And in some cases like drastically different. So it was that like that first part of like the awareness that and I mean, really, when we're talking about mindfulness, like this, this awareness of and this knowing of ourselves and our habits. Mm-hmm. And so from there, we did some other mindfulness practices, and also like kind of had more, they constantly just gave us feedback on their experience or what they thought might work. And then Chloe and I are creating a journal, a mindfulness journal based in the 9 attributes of mindfulness. Like I was mentioning earlier, generosity and gratitude and acceptance and non-judgment and non-striving. And so we had them test the first chapter, like to actually do it. And they came back with amazing feedback, because a lot of them said like, just these mindfulness tools that we were using, I like never would have considered, but also like can't believe what I discovered. And then a lot of them said, don't market this as a digital well-being thing, because kids don't think they need that, which I thought was really interesting.
That's smart.
Yeah.
It's a different take. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like, I keep thinking about this too. I think this is something that like, if you're going to create something to help someone else, like if you don't ask them what they need, like how could you possibly create something that would be beneficial?
Yeah. You can't do it unless you really know who you're talking to.
Right. And
do you think that these kids are receptive to it? Like, the kids in your group obviously were.
Yeah.
This generation, Gen Z will say, or Gen Alpha. Do you think that a lot of them are aware of the social media usage and all that? Or do you think they want to change? Do you think they want to be better? Is there a drive for that? Or is it more like unaware?
I think it's a mixture of all of it. What the group that we had, I will say, was like, my gosh, they really were so wise and mature for their age. Like, I don't know if they're like the sample, like the cross section of like the average teen. But they all voiced, like, some of them, there was like a little resign and like, this is just how it is. Like, this is the world we live in and this is how it is. And I know that, my use could be better, or this is something that I really struggle with. So it was like, maybe not a resign, but it was like, it's not going anywhere. Like, I have to be in relationship with my devices, but also not necessarily like, I know exactly how to do it. They didn't necessarily have that clarity. And then a couple of them also were like, didn't seem like they didn't, it was like, oh, I kind of know them, that I could be on my phone less, but I don't know if it's such a big deal. Yeah. So, and when we talked a lot about some of those factors, and again, I didn't want to like come in with all the data that like they can, I felt like I really wanted them to feel like this was a space where we're just like, so this is a factor in life. Like, how do we polish it? How do we make it give you the best experience as a kid, but also the best tools to like learn and grow in this world? And so, when we had the intergenerational bridge, which was like that conversation that we had at the retreat. So the retreat was when we all came together. We practiced more mindfulness, like some more mindful tools. They did a lot of like self-reflection and journaling on the experience. And then we had the other generations come, and we had this big talk about tech. So a lot of the conversation was driven around tech, but then some was just like intergenerational conversation about like becoming, like what is varied and universal about growing up in the world, like no matter when.
Sounds like an amazing conversation.
Steven, it was so amazing. It was I would love for you to be there. It was so fascinating. And some of the things that were said were like, it was interesting because what a teen might be saying about like comparison on social media is totally relatable to someone in our era. Like when we're looking at a magazine and we saw like an athlete or somebody that we want to aspire to, like the nature for a human being to compare, like, it's universal, but it's varied now because it's very, there's different mediums and ways that it's happening.
It's much more amplified now.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. But in this conversation, so like we were talking that, a lot of the adults were learning from the teens, and the teens were like kind of basically, they kept saying the same thing. This is the thing that I actually took away that was the most like hopeful, but also like feels daunting a little bit, is that this idea of like authenticity and being able to be yourself like safely in the world. And we talked a lot about, and this is what they were sharing with the older generations, a lot about like cyberbullying but they said, it feels like we can't be kids. We're growing up way fast. We're not having childhood like you guys did. Like the one girl gave an example about how when she was dressing to leave for the retreat, her mom was like, wow, you look really beautiful, but you don't look your age. And the teen expressed like a little like, yeah, I know that's kind of how it is now. Yeah. Different than when we were kids and we tried to like look a little older to like, I don't know. It's different. So like this idea of not having a childhood. And then the thing that they wanted the other generations to know, and this also kind of broke my heart a little bit, was like, I wish I had a childhood where I could have gone like they did in the movies where they would go in the backyard and look for worms. Like I would have loved that.
Yeah. Like Stand By Me when they go.
That's my favorite movies of all time. We have a poster of that in our house.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like kids on an adventure.
Yes. Yeah. Like coming of age, right? Yeah. But when I go back to the thing about like inspiring and daunting was like the authenticity piece. And then we started talking a little bit about AI and John, my friend who had the brilliant quote, if you can't hate up close, was saying like, you know, if authenticity is the thing that you, to the teens, he's saying this, like if authenticity feels like the thing that is so important to you to hold on to, like this is where your discernment is going to be so necessary in where we're going with AI. And that made me feel like, God, how do we teach them and how do we show them like the value of not being like filtered and like having words that AI has polished, like just being raw and real and authentic. How do you like help them feel that? Well, the answer is mindfulness. But also how do you like, you know, prepare them, but also protect that. Like we don't still know what's gonna.
Yeah. It's hard to discern. It's hard to detect it. You know, if you've seen some of the AI things that are out on Instagram, and that's really the only social media platform I use, but
same.
It's hard to tell, but I feel like I can tell. Like if I follow a lot of nature stuff, right? And so there'll be like birds flying or things in the sea, and I'm like, that's not a real creature.
Right.
That's not that's not real. And it looks too colorful and vivid. It's not real. And so I try to get that stuff off my algorithm. Yeah. You know, so teaching kids that maybe.
Well, I think we talked about this when we ran into each other last, with this idea of like being a gatekeeper. Like I think one of the thing that I want to do that I feel the strongest about is like empowering kids to like believe in their self-worth and value without having to be or do anything else, like Mr. Rogers style. And also like feel that agency to be a gatekeeper for what comes in and what they put out, because it like, just like there's the algorithm on social media, there's an algorithm in your brain. Like the more you feed and what you feed your brain is going to shape and wire your brain. So, you know, to say, you know, like you could make some kind of art on an AI or like through AI or whatever, or you could just like go and just like make a bunch of mistakes on your own and like come to something that's art to you. Like, I think that's the piece. I also feel like our ability to be creative and unpolished is so important. And it's so like, beautiful. It's so beautiful. Like none of this would be here without the human brain to begin with. Right. So like we have the idea of like prioritizing, fueling what we consume and how we exercise. Actually, one of the coolest things we did at Summer Sunset Socials, my husband's a 5th grade teacher, and he did a table that was, it's called Fun with Rocks and Sticks. And what he did was like these brain puzzles with sticks. So he'd like line them up in different configurations and be like, okay, you can only move 3 sticks to create this formation, like from 2 boxes to 3 boxes, but you can only move 3 sticks or whatever it might be. And then, so anyway, it was so cool because people would come to this, and I come to this table, and part of me was like, I wonder how this will go if people, and they stayed there for like a long time, and they stayed with the problem too, like like trying to find the solution. It wasn't like today where you see something and then you like, you know, you scrub through to find the answer, or you're having a conversation with someone you can't, like, what was the name of the actor that plays Chris Chambers? What was his name? Oh, it was River Phoenix. But like you would like Google it before you remember the name. So like this idea of like these kids sitting with literally just a bunch of sticks on a table and figuring out how, like that idea of sticking with a task, but then also like just exhausting your brain. Yeah. Like I want them to value that so much.
I feel like maybe it's just my own experience, but kids these days.
Kids these
days.
Oh, gosh, darn it.
Have trouble with problem solving and solutions because it's so easy to just Google the answer or whatever. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like I told my son when he popped his tube on his tire, I was like, okay, we're going to use this as an example. I'm like, what are you going to do about it? And he didn't know, right? Obviously, he's never done it before. I'm like, okay, you can problem solve. What's the problem? Oh, there's a hole in my tube. Okay, what do you need? I don't know. I'm like, well, you have YouTube. You can YouTube it. You know, go on, watch a video, and then tell me what you need. I'll get it for you. You can do it. Yeah. So we have these tools that are disposable that can be used for good, but taking the shortcut isn't always the right answer, right?
Absolutely.
So it is a good tool, but, you know, I feel like kids have problems with problem solving for that reason that it's too easy sometimes.
Absolutely. So in our house, and like I also do this with my teaching too, is like the two questions are like why and like what's the intention whenever we go on it. Like my kids watch plenty of television, but we don't have iPads or devices. They're not allowed on our phones. And so they're 9 and 5. And so like my son will come down and he's like, I just want to like watch something. No problem. But why or what? Like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I'm thinking about going to YouTube. I'm like, well, for what? Like, and if the answer or the intention isn't for like comprehension of something or competency in something, but then I'm going to go do it myself, or like, actually, Mom, I just kind of want to veg out and watch these artists make these like cool things. Like
that's cool too, though.
Totally. Yeah. That's totally cool. Yeah. But like not for 2 hours,
right?
For 20 minutes, maybe, or 15 minutes. Right. And then hopefully you're inspired and you go make something like that. We always like talk about that being, like you said, like it's leverage, or it's like, it's the tool that's in your quiver, but it's not your, like, you could figure out a way without it. It makes that's a place where efficiency comes in, and it's really valuable.
Yeah.
And the same thing with like why we reach for our phones. That was what we did with the teens. Like every time for that 1 week where they were monitoring and like kind of paying attention to their habits. Some of the questions was like, just notice why you're picking like when you reach for your phone, like watch your hands throughout the day and see where your hands go and like what you reach for.
That's what I want to ask you. Does any of these kids like feel that buzz in their pocket?
The phantom,
yeah.
Actually, no, I didn't answer that question, but when we had the summer sunset social, Abby from Dispatch came and covered the event, and she said that she had that. And also, and at that event, a lot of parents this was really interesting too. A lot of parents would be at the event and they'd see their kids. Actually, Steven, this is one of the things that I like. There would be kids like flying kites, like running full speed, the biggest smiles, like pure dirty feet, like just, and none of us parents had phones, right? So we were like watching it, but every other time you would be like, I have to capture this moment, right? And you make a video, whatever. So there was a lot of parents that would go to, like, there was just this habitual reaching for, and then realizing and being like, oh my gosh, I actually have to be present for this and like commit it to memory and not, and that was really interesting.
You ever see that photo that somebody took? It's, there's a parade going by and there's all these people with their phones recording it, and then there's this little old lady just leaning over the fence just watching.
It's my favorite.
Smile on her face.
I think that was Harry's wedding.
Was it?
Prince Harry and Meghan. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Was that it?
Yes, because I remember that too. My brother-in-law Nick sent that to me, and I was like, it really. That was like, to me, is like encompasses like lived year experience, like wisdom. Like you're just like,
There's no need to capture it. Just
right. Because that was the other thing that I was reading. I think Time put out an article about AI, and they did this study with students, and they had one group of students write an article or like an essay completely with AI, another one have it polished with AI, and then another one completely brain power. Mm-hmm. And they had them submit them, and I think there was like just varied like opinions about the quality. But the bigger aha piece was that how much comprehension the students had on the topic, and the comprehension that those that did was like none with the people who completely did it with AI, like barely even read it themselves. Yeah. The ones that polished like a little bit, but the ones that had written it themselves could like speak about it without. And I thought like, well, that's a fundamental important like quality of that we need, or skill we need to have to be able to write and then like comprehend and actually commit something to memory and like, be able to speak about it and articulate, because that's real growing and learning.
Do you think that's AI in that capacity is going to be a problem in the future?
I think it already is.
Because there's like, I mean, I see this as an argument, like your future doctor is just writing their papers with AI. They're not comprehending any of the information. They don't know what they're doing, but they're getting by because of AI, cheating their way through med school.
I mean, I'm sure it's really scary. And I wonder, and I hope like that we're going to have these like fail stops. I don't know if that's the right expression, like just to like that the systems will start to change so that we can, but then, I think that's interesting because the human brain is really good at coming with ways around those things, but we have to, I think there was actually a really awesome study that was done by the foundation within the Sesame Street Network. Can't remember the name of the woman. She's the Joan something. She's the founder of, anyway, she did this study, and this like, if you're writing a platform code or you're like creating any kind of digital space, you would ask yourself if like the thing falls within these 7 categories. I think one of them was connection, was creativity, competency or comprehension, inclusivity. There was like 7 of them. And so it was like this, it was basically putting on tech developers, like if you are creating something and it doesn't fall within these categories, if you can't answer that's falling in one of these categories to like enrich humanity, then second guess what you're building, right?
Yeah.
And I think that if we start to frame like AI around that too, and then in all of the ways that it might be misused, like hopefully that will show itself.
Yeah.
In those contexts that you're talking about in particular, because people are using it in the wrong way. Like I hope that I know it's going to continue to get better, but I hope that we as a humanity get better at like noticing the difference too.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah.
We have to.
It's going to be dangerous if we don't.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what are some ways that we can break the cycle of like social media addiction, phone addiction? What are some ways that you've seen that help? Whether it's, a year-long detox or just a month or sporadic, setting a timer, whatever it is.
Well, I do believe that like just doing a detox is helpful, but like if you want something that's got like legs and like longevity, really building awareness of your current habits in like a really objective, gentle, curious, kind way, right? Like we don't want to do this in a way where we beat ourselves up when we realize like our screen time is XYZ and our pickup times are like 200 a day or whatever, like that's a really big number, but for some people that might be accurate.
Yeah.
And like, so and that's the part where like the mindfulness practice is really important. So to really be compassionate to ourselves and suspend judgment as much as possible and just collect some data and notice our habits in that curious way. And also notice how those habits make us feel. Like I've heard you talk about this so many times. Like there's data and protocols, but then there's what's right for your body or what you notice what's going on in your body, right? So like we can be really honest with like, okay, here's the data of how I'm using my device and when I'm using it, and like the utility of each device, like the iPad's for this or whatever it might be, and like how do I feel around, like what is my like taking inventory of what's going on in our mental and emotional state. And then with like all of that information, you can start to craft a plan for yourself.
Right.
And I think one of the most important things is to, like as you're starting to wean or change or shift your relationship with your devices or what you find, whatever the data is that you find, is that you come up with a plan in advance of the detox. So like, okay, these are things I love to do. Like I'm a martial artist. I love yoga. I love to cook, spend time with my son, whatever. Like, what do we do to get, like you literally write down the things that you like to do off your phone. And so when you do choose to like wean or delete an app or you start to change habits, like that detoxing, that's actually a chemical, like you're recalibrating your dopamine, right? You're like, that's a panic mode, right? It's like you're like, oh, here's my list. Actually, because my brain can't function right now because I'm in like fight, flight, or freeze. Like fight, flight, or freeze. Let me look at the things that I know I love to do and let me work through my resistance of like, the resistance that my brain's having about not being where it wants to be on the phone.
Yeah.
And but really nurturing that in a way that's gentle. I know that detoxing like cold turkey is really helpful, but for me, when I read Anxious Generation, that was a lightning bolt moment for me for what I wanted to do with children and families. But then I was like, okay, well, if you're going to talk this talk, you have to walk it. Yep. And I realized that my relationship with Instagram was not great. And that I had like we said, like initially got on there because I thought it would be good for business, but then it just became something else. And I was taking up way more of my time, bleeding into my life, my family life. Like I work with kids. So I'd be like playing with my kids and think, I probably should take a picture of this. This is good content. I'm like, my life is not content. Yeah. Like that became the theme. Like you living your life, being present in the moment is not content for someone else. Like this is your life. Like, so I decided I'm going to definitely take a sabbatical. It's going to be 2 months. So I gave myself a month to get my ducks in a row with my Instagram account for business. Like, what do I need to do? Like, I'm sure you don't have to do this, but this is what I did. And I like said, okay, I'm not going to be on there. I'm just going to put a post up that I'm going to be gone for two months. Like I'm not in DM. Like you can't, I made sure that I was like clear enough in that. And then I just kind of like on June 30th last year, I just was like, oh, this is it. And then I deleted the app, and those 2 months were like so blissful. Like I remember as soon as I deleted the app, I felt like I'd done the work to be ready for it. Yeah. And my God, it sounds so extreme, but it's true. Like, because it was a big part of my life at that time. It felt like, and so when it was gone, I was like, I immediately felt a weight off my shoulders. I felt an expansion of my like brain power and like cognitive load, which was like lighter. I immediately realized that I wasn't missing anything. And quite honestly, nobody missed me. Like, and I don't, you don't mean it in a way like, oh, but like, what was me? No, they don't. And I have people that I are my village and that I can call whenever, but they don't love me because I'm on Instagram. Like they could care less, and they did not miss my presence at all.
Yeah.
And that was really a nice thing to realize. So those 2 months turned into a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was amazing. It was great. And I was thinking about this when I went back just recently, like all these things happened last year that I didn't share in a social space. And it was like just as valuable, like it was just as valuable, if not more. And I don't even also feel like, I want to go back and tell people what happened last October or whatever. Like none of it's done and gone, and it's not, So I guess my advice would be like, do a plan that works for you, but also just little shifts. Like one of the other things in our family, like, well, we have some of those rules around devices. Like the kids don't have iPads. They're not allowed on our phone. We do, like I said, we do watch a lot of TV, but like things around the way my husband and I use our devices around them was really important. So like, when we have, when we're together as a family or we have meals or something like that, like there's never phones on the table. There's just some standards in the home that are priorities. And then also sometimes my husband, I'll just take one phone with us when we go out instead of having two when we're with the kids. Cause we're like, we're going out for an hour or whatever it might be, like what will we miss? And I think sometimes if you give yourselves like these little chances to like separate but it's like reasonable within your window of tolerance, like you realize, oh, it wasn't so bad. It goes back to experience, right? Like you have to have the experience. You don't have to go all in. You don't have to be extreme about it, but you have to build like these little benchmarks for yourself. Like, okay, I'm going to run into town without my phone. Yeah. And then I'm coming back. Like, oh, I made it. Yeah. Like someone said no to going to the junior prom with me. I made it. So you go to go to Stewart's or wherever, and you come back and you're fine.
I like to play golf without my phone.
Do you play golf? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I just picked it up last year, but it's a nice way to be in nature. And, a lot of times when I would go on hikes, I would bring my phone and take pictures of like the mushrooms and the foliage and just the beautiful scenery, Yeah. And I really enjoyed the photography aspect of it. But when I'm golfing, I like to just be present and stay focused. So I'll put my phone away or leave it in the car. And that's like 2 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours sometimes. And it feels really good. So like maybe just starting with something like that. Like
Absolutely.
Going out to do an activity, and if you don't need your phone, don't bring it. Or
Totally.
put it on airplane or put it on Do Not Disturb. Something like that.
How do you feel when you come off the golf course and you're like, no, you're going to check your phone? Do you notice like anything ramp up, like emotionally or like anticipatorily, like any anticipatory kind of like?
It's kind of like here we go. Like,
yes. Yeah. Okay.
Because it's usually like a bunch of texts and emails, and I run a business,
Sure.
so it's like constant people reaching out, and I find myself checking all the social. I only have two, but Instagram, Facebook, email, text, and it's like, okay, let me just, and it's a little overwhelming.
Sure. It's like a little pattern too. You're like, let me check these, right?
Yeah.
But that's kind of a fun thing too, to do like for your brain too, is be like, okay, now I'm in the car. I'm going to give it 5 more minutes. Yeah. And like you could do your breaths, like you could anchor a little bit, and like, and then I always also notice like what the pattern is. Like, when you pick up the phone, especially after you haven't had it for a while, like what thing, do you go to the same place always, or do you notice a notification? Does that pull you? Like how could you like kind of challenge yourself to be like, no, I'm going straight to email. I'm not going to look at anything else. I'm not going to look at a notification, and that's where the play is. And then also it keeps your brain on its toes a little bit and doesn't let it get into the habit of like, okay, you've been away for the phone for 2 hours. You have to do this. You start to like take a little control back, and it doesn't it's not all like this extreme thing, but it feels like because we do have the time. Yeah. More than we believe.
I feel like this is something I need to put into practice, because I definitely spend too much time on Instagram. I need to start doing some of these things that you just suggested. For sure.
Well, I want to hear back. So I think for myself too, I do this where like with Instagram, now that I'm back on, which I'm going to, again, like, I know I said I don't do all or nothing, but like sometimes I do just need to like take a full week off when we're going on vacation. So I'm going to do that. But I have noticed now, like when I pick up my phone, I I have Instagram on like the third slide. Like I don't,
It's all the way down.
Yeah, me too. But I like notice that I go immediately there and I go to the heart, like to see who's engaging. I'm like, okay, that's Leah. That's why you're going, because you want to see if anybody's engaged. So I'm not judging myself for being a vain Leo. Leos love compliments, but I'm like, that's just something it's your nature. So now change it. Like go into the app and actually like go to like an account that you love and see if they posted anything. Like, so I force myself to create different patterns so that I don't feed the same thing, that same pathway every time.
Yeah. It's like that delayed gratification, right? Yeah.
Yes. It's like the kids taught me about Snapchat, and when you like leave somebody on delivered, which means but you can still see what they wrote, but they don't know that you read it. You could like pretend like you're in like a relationship with Instagram and be like, I'm not going to give you what you want right away.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. Right. Well, you have to make it playful. That's for sure.
We got to wrap up. Great information. It just flows.
Yes.
We've been talking. It's been so nice.
It's amazing.
I do have the one last question.
Okay. And then I want to tell you about one last thing, if I can.
Yeah,
so the Nurture Nature program for the fall, the registration is open for that.
Okay.
It's at Pitney Meadows. So this year we're doing 2 sessions. We're doing kindergarten through 2nd grade, and then we're doing 3rd through 5th. So we can get a little more like specific with age groups. So last year we did K through 5, and it was awesome, but because the mixed age is so great, but we kind of like tailored to the younger kids because that's just appropriate. So now we're doing the 2 groups. So we'll do 1 session for each age group in the fall and 1 in the winter. So if people want to register, they can go to pitneymeadows.org, I think.
pitneymeadows.org.
I think so.
Or .com.
Or .com. Is org a thing anymore?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
It's one of the 2.
Just Google Pitney Meadows.
And look at the program is called
Nurtured in Nature.
Nurtured in Nature.
So it's after school from 4:30 to 5:30, and kids get dropped off and they have that hour with us. But then the coolest thing is that a lot of caregivers, parents, guardians, they stay on the farm, and then they have an hour to themselves where they can go walk, or they can nature journal, or just, whatever they want to do. But that now you've scheduled an hour for yourself where you could be in nature.
Sounds great.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So if you want to look into that, pitneymeadows.com.
Yep.
Look for nature and nurture.
Nurture Nature. Yep.
Nurture and nature. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I mean, I have lots, but for now, I'm good.
If people want to reach you, where can they find you?
bravelionmind.com or Leah at bravelion.
And you don't take DMs on Instagram?
No.
No.
I'm bad at it. If you do it, I might get to it, but I'm not good at it.
It's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
I get it. All right. So I ask everybody on this podcast the same question at the end. It's the last meal question. So we've established why you're on death row.
Yes. Right? Should we tell everyone?
Yeah. It's just the first thing that came to my mind. So Leah got so fed up with social media that she planned this cyber attack that like wiped out the whole internet and satellites and all that stuff.
You're welcome.
Yeah. She went on a warpath, and now she's on death row, and her last meal will be. Yeah,
my last meal will go back to my Italian heritage.
Oh yeah,
and it's just a big bowl of spaghetti and meatballs. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My first thought to this question was basmati rice and butter, which I know is
no, that's good too.
Like those comfort foods, but my
I ate that a lot in college.
What's that you did?
Yeah, just rice and butter.
Same, but I toast the basmati in butter first, and then cook it in chicken broth, like a bone broth, and it's really good. Yeah. But I will just say this: my grandmother, like there was nothing like coming to their house and like smelling her sauce, like her tomato sauce. And so before she passed away, I mean, this happened years before she passed away, she got all of us together. My aunt kind of spearheaded this, but she got all of us together to cook it with her. So it wasn't just like seeing the recipe. It was like, here, this goes back to experience. Okay. Yeah. Right. So it was like one thing if she gave us the recipe, but like we sat in the kitchen with her and she walked us through step by step, because also like tying her to like measurements in a recipe was also,
you're not going to get that with an Italian grandma.
Right. So I have like all these notes next to what she like guessed they would be. And, she like, when it was browning the garlic, or like she puts like brajol, like that, she browned some meat in there, and she cooked, and she also cooked her raw meatballs in the sauce, which I think could be controversial for some. And do you do that?
No, I got a story about that. When I was in culinary school, I was like, oh, that's how you do it, because that's how my grandma did it. And they were like, no.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Yeah, you cook it for like 7 hours, it's going to be fine.
It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. So she did it with us. And I remember like the first time I made it on my own, I weep every single time I make it, because it smelled like her. And now that she's not here, like I can bring her back by making that sauce and smelling it. It tastes just like hers. And so that would be, for me, that'd be full circle on my last meal to have my grandmother's sauce and meatballs.
Yeah, I love it.
Thank you
That's
so
such
much.
a beautiful moment to share with your grandmother.
Yeah, it was. And my mom, it's really interesting too, like after she passed away, now my mom and my aunts have kind of like taken the role of passing more recipes down. So this past Easter, we all got together and made crescia, which I think it's like all of my Italian family, well, my whole family's Italian, but most 3/4 are from the La Marche region, which is on the Adriatic side. Okay. And so this might be like a La Marche region thing, but it's this big bread with like cheese and pepper. And it's beautiful. And I think it has something to do with like rising because it's Easter, like there's something, anyway. Okay. And my grandmother used to make it once a year, right? So it was like this really special thing. And my mom mastered the recipe. And so I had never made it with my grandmother, but my mom now had us all together. We did it together. And she did, this is another thing about experience. She's like, I'm going to do it for you. And then you guys are going to make another one by yourselves. And I'm going to watch. Oh, cool. And so it was really cool. So me and my cousins were like, no, she said this, she said that. Right. And my mom was like,
pressure. She's over there watching. She was. Crossed. Yeah.
But then also like this idea of being like varied and flexible with your brain. And like, she's like, but you could do this, you could do that. But she's like, I want you to know the basic, like, that's cooking. Yeah. Well, of course, you know, right?
Yeah.
So
I love a dish with a backstory.
Me too.
You kind of glossed over the whole "it rises because it's Easter" thing, but like I love to dig into that.
Me too.
Like certain dishes, whether they're Italian or whatever culture they come from, usually have some sort of, religious tie or cultural tie, whatever it is. And I love hearing the stories about that kind of stuff.
Me too. It's especially like when it just makes, I don't know, so much of it makes sense too. Like I think about the kitchen. For my family, like we had a big island. We always had a big island in the kitchen. And like, that's where my family, my like Italian family always is, where there's 5 of us kids, always is. But like, it's not just cooking, it was dancing and like doing dishes. And my mom would put, like when she put the Bee Gees on, we all knew like, okay, everyone's got to clean but we're also going to dance and like so much laughter. And that island that my parents had is now in my kitchen.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that cool?
That's
and
awesome.
My siblings like, must have been carving like with an X-Acto knife on something. So like it says Lancy like carved into the table. So my kids, I'm like, your Zio and Zia is like, ruined this table back in the day, but not really because look how awesome.
It's great. I love
it's
that.
The best.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much.
Such an awesome conversation, and I think an important conversation, especially as tech gets to growing and growing and growing. How can we manage, our balance with it? So.
Maybe we'll have a Savage Sunday, tech-free day, like where we're just, well, you guys can.
You're going to have to convince Katie of that.
I know.
To not record stuff. But I feel like mostly when she posts it is business stuff.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I don't see her obsessing over anything, really.
But some things need to be shown, too, to like, to like whet the palate and like kind of make you be like, oh, that's really juicy. I want to experience that.
Yeah, I mean, she's using it in a business sense to grow her business and grow the Savage Sunday thing, which is a great community thing.
I love it.
People getting together and moving, and it's wonderful.
Okay, I'll want to hear all the details after the Sunday when you guys do your hardest, longest mile.
Be brutal.
I'll be in Cape Cod.
And hot.
Is it really? Oh man. Okay.
Yeah.
Drink water.
All right. Well, thank you again for coming on. I appreciate you, and bravelionmind.com. Okay. Awesome. Thanks everybody for listening. Stay healthy, my friends.